hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Love Soul Connection. I'm your host, Meeta, and I'm so excited to have you here today. I hope you all are doing well. So grab a cup of coffee, settle into a comfortable spot, because today we are diving into something really special. So let me ask you a question. When you hear the word intimacy, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? If you thought about physical attraction or sexual connection, you're not alone. But here's the thing, intimacy is so much more than that. It's about emotional closeness, mental connection, and that magical sense of feeling truly seen and understood by your partner. Today's episode is for anyone who's just starting out in a new relationship, or for those of you who are in the early stages of marriage trying to build that special connection. Maybe things are great, but you're still wondering how to deepen your bond. Or maybe you're feeling a little unsure about how to move beyond the surface level. Whatever stage you're at, I've got you covered. So, we'll be exploring what intimacy really means, why it is so crucial to build it intentionally from the start, and what you can do to strengthen it step by step. Plus, we'll tackle some of the common struggles that couples face during this phase, like handling past baggage, overcoming insecurities, and learning to open up without fear. By the end of today's episode, you'll have a practical roadmap for creating a deep and meaningful bond that goes way beyond just physical attraction. Because, let's be real, when the initial spark fades, it's this emotional and mental intimacy that keeps the relationship alive and thriving. So, are you ready to start building some real intimacy into your relationship? Let's get into it. All right, so let's start by talking about what intimacy really means, especially when it comes to new marriages or partnerships. I know that word gets thrown around a lot, but if you asked 10 different people, you would probably get 10 different definitions, right? Most of us tend to think about intimacy as being physical, holding hands, cuddling, or having sex. And while that is part of it, it's not the whole picture. Intimacy at its core is about connection. It is about feeling safe, seen, and valued by your partner. It's the sense of being able to show up as your true self with all your flaws, quirks, and insecurities, and still feel accepted and loved. Now, this becomes especially important in new marriages or when you're just starting a serious relationship. Why? Because this is the stage when couples are laying the foundation of their relationship. Think of it like building a house. You want a strong foundation so the structure doesn't crumble when the storms hit, right? The same goes for relationships. The kind of intimacy that you build in the early days sets the tone for the rest of your journey together. I often see couples getting caught up in the excitement of the honeymoon phase, where everything is new and passionate. But here's the thing, physical attraction alone won't sustain a relationship in the long run. Without true intimacy, it's easy for misunderstandings, insecurities, or even small issues to create emotional distance. That is why it is so crucial to build intimacy intentionally right from the beginning. So, what does this kind of intimacy look like? It's having those deep, meaningful conversations late into the night where you learn about each other's dreams, fears, and values. It's about understanding each other's love languages. It's about being vulnerable and sharing your insecurities and knowing that your partner has your back. For instance, in a new marriage, you might be figuring out each other's boundaries, habits, and expectations. You may love spending your Sunday mornings reading in silence while your partner may want to chat over breakfast. These are small things, but they matter. It's not just about compromising, it's about respecting each other's space and understanding why certain things are important to them. Here's a real life example. I had a client who got married last year. Everything was perfect on the surface, but she felt that something was missing. She realized that they had never really talked. Really talked about what they wanted their future to look like. They hadn't discussed things like, what does success mean to us? Or what role do we want our families to play in our relationship? They were physically close, but emotionally distant. Once they started having these conversations and started incorporating the steps which I told them to take in my coaching, their connection deepened and they started feeling truly intimate for the first time. So here's the takeaway: intimacy isn't just about grand gestures or passion, it's about small, consistent efforts to understand each other's worlds, to show up authentically, and to create a space where both partners feel truly safe and connected. This is why it is especially important in new marriages or partnerships where you are just starting to create that foundation for a life together. Okay, now that we've unpacked what intimacy really means, let's dive into the first steps of building that connection. So, whether you're starting a new relationship or you're in the early stages of a new marriage, creating a deep bond can feel overwhelming. But remember, intimacy doesn't happen overnight. It's built gradually through small, meaningful actions. So, where do you begin? Start with open communication. The foundation of intimacy is communication. If you want to build a strong relationship, you've got to be able to talk about everything, not just the good stuff, like what you love about each other, but also the hard stuff. Be honest about your expectations, fears, and even the things that might make you feel insecure. Let's say you're in a new marriage and you're worried about how your partner will react if you express that you need more alone time. You might fear that they'll take it personally or feel rejected. But if you're open about why you need that space, explaining that it's about recharging rather than pulling away, it can lead to a deeper understanding of each other's needs. Remember, intimacy is about sharing your whole self, not just the parts that are easy to talk about. Here's a tip: make it a habit to have what I call check in conversations. Once a week, sit down with your partner and ask, how are we doing? How do you feel about where we are at? Is there anything that we need to work on or improve? This practice not only strengthens your bond, but also helps you to tackle any issues before they snowball. The second thing that you need to do is share your vulnerabilities. This one is tough, but it is so worth it. Being vulnerable means showing parts of yourself that you might usually keep hidden, like your insecurities, fears, or past experiences. It's about saying, this is who I am, and I trust you enough to show you this side of me. For example, if you're newly married, you might have anxieties about fitting in with your partner's family. Instead of keeping it to yourself, try saying, I'm worried about making a good impression on your parents. Can we talk about what might help me feel more comfortable around them? This small act of sharing can make your partner feel needed and appreciated, and they are more likely to open up about something they are struggling with too. Next, start creating shared experiences. Building intimacy isn't just about talking, it's also about doing. It's those moments spent cooking a new recipe together, taking a spontaneous trip, or even doing mundane things like grocery shopping together. It's in these shared moments that you begin to create your own little world filled with just us memories that no one else can replicate. For example, a couple that I worked with started a tradition of picking out a new book to read together every month. So they would sit down, discuss it over coffee, and it became their way of connecting with each other. It's not about what you do, it's about making time for each other, free from distractions. You want another simple idea? Try a weekly ritual. Maybe it's a Saturday morning walk or a movie night with popcorn and no phones allowed. These rituals give you something to look forward to and reinforce your connection. The fourth thing is something that you might have heard about: the love languages. They are words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. Knowing your partner's love language can completely change how you approach intimacy. You might be someone who values words of affirmation, so you constantly tell your partner how much you love them. But if your partner's love language is acts of service, they might not feel as connected unless you're doing things to show that you care, like helping out around the house or surprising them with breakfast. So here's a practical step: take a few minutes to talk to your partner and ask, what makes you feel the most loved? This conversation alone can open up new ways to show you care and help you to deepen your bond. Finally, remember that building intimacy also means respecting boundaries. It's easy to get caught up in wanting to be super close all the time, but sometimes real intimacy comes from giving each other space to breathe and be individuals. For example, in a new relationship, you might feel a strong urge to text or to call your partner every hour because you want to feel connected, but they might need time to focus on work or pursue their hobbies. And pushing for constant interaction can actually create distance. So respect their need for space, and you'll find that it brings you closer when you do spend time together. So, to sum it up, building intimacy is about showing up as your authentic self, being open, creating shared moments, and respecting each other's individuality. It's a journey that requires patience, vulnerability, and most importantly, commitment to making your partner feel seen and valued. The bottom line is, intimacy isn't something that you rush into. It is something that you build layer by layer, experience by experience. Now, before you build intimacy, it is essential to establish a safe and comfortable environment, both physically and emotionally. Intimacy flourishes when both the partners feel secure and accepted for who they are. So, what does this safe space look like? It's a place where you can express your thoughts, desires, and vulnerabilities without fear of judgment or rejection. It's about being seen, heard, and valued for who you are. So start by nurturing emotional safety. This means being a good listener, validating your partner's feelings, and showing empathy, even when you disagree. It's those small acts of checking in, offering a shoulder to lean on, and creating an atmosphere of acceptance that really count. Ask yourself, does my partner feel safe sharing their fears, dreams, or insecurities with me? If not, then how can I reassure them that it's okay to be open? For example, imagine your partner shares something that they are nervous about, like a past experience that made them feel embarrassed or insecure. Instead of reacting with shock or dismissal, respond with kindness. Thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate your honesty. This simple validation can make a huge difference in how safe they feel with you. Physical safety is equally important. It's not just about creating a cozy environment with dim lighting and soft music, though that certainly helps. It's about ensuring that any physical intimacy is consensual, comfortable, and respectful. Ask questions like, is this okay? How do you feel about this? Are you comfortable? This way, you are reinforcing that both partners are in control of how things progress, making every interaction feel safe and mutual. If one partner wants to cuddle but the other isn't in the mood, it's okay to say, I'd love to be close to you, but maybe we could just hold hands for right now. This respects both people's boundaries and keeps the interaction comfortable for both. Creating a safe space also means allowing yourself to be vulnerable. Be the first to open up and share something personal. It doesn't have to be a deep, dark secret. Even small things like talking about your day or your feelings can set the tone for deeper conversations. When your partner sees that you are being genuine, it invites them to do the same. For example, try sharing something that you are hesitant about, like a personal goal or maybe a recent fear. Say, I've been feeling a bit insecure about this, or I'm really excited about this new opportunity, but I'm also nervous. Vulnerability creates connection because it shows that you trust your partner enough to share your inner world. Building intimacy is like planting a delicate seed. The soil needs to be just right, filled with acceptance, patience, and genuine care. When both partners feel secure, they are more likely to open up, share, and deepen the bond. So, whether it's through words of affirmation, respecting boundaries, or just being present for each other, the goal is to create a space where love, trust, and intimacy can grow. So, now that we've covered how to build intimacy step by step, let's take a moment to address the realities. Because let's be honest, creating a deep connection isn't always smooth sailing. In fact, new relationships often come with a set of unique challenges that can make establishing intimacy feel like a rocky road. From navigating misunderstandings to balancing your own needs with your partner's, these struggles are completely normal. But the good news is, with the right mindset and strategies, you can get through them together. One of the biggest hurdles in new relationships is the fear of being truly seen. When you're getting to know someone, it's natural that you want to show your best self. You may feel like you need to hide your quirks, your past mistakes, or even parts of yourself that you're not so proud of. This fear can keep you from letting your partner in and ultimately hinder the intimacy that you're trying to build. Think of it this way. Imagine you're dating someone that you really like and things are going well, but you have a history of heartbreak and you're afraid to talk about it because you don't want to seem damaged. So, you keep that part of your story to yourself. Over time, This creates an invisible wall. Your partner can sense that you're holding something back, and that prevents the relationship from growing deeper. If you don't address it, it can lead to misunderstandings or even create emotional distance. Another common struggle is balancing independence and togetherness. In the excitement of a new relationship, it's easy to want to spend all your time together. But eventually, it can start to feel suffocating if there is no balance. You might begin to feel like you're losing your sense of self, or your partner might start craving more personal space, which can lead to feelings of rejection or insecurity. Imagine a newly married couple where one partner is used to having a lot of alone time, while the other craves constant companionship. The partner who needs space might start to feel overwhelmed, while the one who wants more time together might feel unloved. This can easily spiral into arguments unless they communicate and find a balance that respects both needs. The third challenge is managing expectations. Expectations are tricky in new relationships. Maybe one partner expects constant affection while the other shows love in quieter ways. Or one expects the relationship to progress at a faster pace while the other wants to take things slow. When expectations aren't aligned, it can lead to frustration and disappointment. Let's say you just got engaged and you're ready to move in together, but your fiance wants to wait a few more months until things settle down at work. You might feel that they are not as invested in the relationship, even though they are just trying to be practical. Without talking about these expectations, misunderstandings can brew resentment. Another challenge? The fear of having difficult conversations. You might think, if we have a fight this early on, maybe we are not a good match. But avoiding conflict only builds up unresolved tension. Learning to handle disagreements early in a relationship is actually healthy and sets a precedent for how you'll navigate bigger issues down the road. For example, imagine that you're dating someone new and you notice that they frequently cancel plans last minute. It bothers you, but you don't say anything because you don't want to seem needy or controlling. Eventually, the frustration builds up, and one day you snap over something small. Now you're both confused and upset. Addressing this issue early on would have prevented this from escalating. We have already identified some common struggles. So now let's talk about how to address them in a way that strengthens your relationship rather than causing unnecessary tension. First is create a safe space for vulnerability. Being vulnerable is scary, but it's necessary for true intimacy. Start by sharing small things about yourself, your favorite childhood memory, a funny story from school, or even a fear or insecurity. As you feel more comfortable, gradually open up about deeper issues. Encourage your partner to do the same by actively listening and responding with kindness, not judgment. Here's a tip. Remember, you don't have to reveal everything at once. So take it slow and share as the trust builds. You can say, I'm a little nervous to talk about this, but I want to be honest with you. This approach helps to set a tone of openness and respect. The second important thing is to find a balance between us time and me time. It's crucial to establish a rhythm that respects each other's need for space and togetherness. Discuss what a healthy balance looks like for both of you. Maybe it is planning one date night each week, and leaving the rest of the evenings free for personal hobbies. Be intentional about protecting that me time so that when you do come together, you're both refreshed and fully present. Here's a tip: try creating a schedule where you both have designated me time and we time. That way, no one feels neglected and you can look forward to quality moments together. The third important thing is align your expectations early on. Sit down and talk about what you both envision for the relationship. Are you both on the same page about future plans, timelines, or even day to day interactions? Setting expectations early on prevents misunderstandings and helps both partners to feel heard and valued. Here's a tip: use I statements to express your expectations, like, I feel most loved when we spend time together, or I'd love if we could have more quality time over the weekends. Using I statements helps your partner to understand from where you're coming. Another important point: embrace healthy conflict. Conflict isn't a sign of weak relationship. It is a sign that you're both invested. Conflicts are inevitable. So approach disagreements as opportunities to understand each other better. Instead of avoiding or escalating arguments, focus on active listening. Say, help me understand why this is important to you, instead of, you're always overreacting. Stop the blame game and work on finding healthy ways to handle the conflicts. Here's a tip: after a disagreement, take a moment to reflect on what you both learned from it. Ask each other, what did we do well and what can we do differently next time? Remember, facing these challenges doesn't mean that your relationship is flawed. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Every couple goes through these ups and downs, especially in the early stages. The key is to approach these hurdles with patience, empathy, and open communication. Boundaries will be tested, expectations will shift, and misunderstandings will happen. But each challenge that you overcome together is a building block towards a deeper, stronger connection. So don't shy away from these moments. Instead, use them as opportunities to learn, grow, and strengthen the foundation of intimacy and trust between you and your partner. As we wrap up today's episode, let's take a moment to summarize the key points that we have discussed. We have explored what intimacy really means and its significance in new relationships, whether you're starting fresh with a partner or navigating the exciting waters of a new marriage. We have highlighted the first steps to building intimacy, including understanding each other's needs and creating a safe space for connection. We have also addressed the common challenges that couples face and emphasized the importance of communication and respect for one another's boundaries. Remember, intimacy is not a destination, it's a journey that unfolds over time. It requires patience, understanding, and a continuous effort from both partners. The more you invest in your connection, the deeper your bond will grow. Each relationship is unique, and the journey that you embark on together will be filled with both beautiful moments and challenges. So, as you go about your day, I encourage you to take one small step towards building intimacy in your relationship. Maybe it is sharing a story that you haven't told before, or perhaps starting a new ritual together, like a weekly date night or a simple daily check in to see how you both are feeling. Every step counts, no matter how small. It's about nurturing your connection and allowing it to evolve naturally. Thank you for tuning in today. And if you found this episode helpful, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a comment sharing your thoughts or experiences. Your feedback means the world to me, and it helps me to reach more people who are on their own journey of building intimacy. Until next time, take care and keep nurturing those meaningful connections.